Good evening, everyone. On behalf of English Without Borders, I am so delighted to welcome you to our weekly Thursday webinar series. I am pleased to see so many of our followers joining us today at 6 p.m. Tajikistan time via Facebook and Zoom. Today's webinar will focus on the topic, the role of the teacher using tasks in EFL classroom. Our speaker will start and share her insight on the role of the teacher using tasks in EFL classroom and provides practical tips for you, dear audience. Before giving the floor to our honored speaker, I would like to introduce her to you. Eunae Kim is a passionate advocate for multilingual learners. She is originally from South Korea and has been in Indonesia for more than 10 years. She received a BA in English Linguistics from Hankook University of Foreign Studies and an MA in Applied Linguistics from the University of Massachusetts, Boston in US. She is currently pursuing her PhD in Applied Linguistics program at Georgetown University. She teaches IB MIP English Language Acquisition and IB Korean A, and now she supports primary multilingual learners at Bandung Independent School. Eunae has taught English to students from various backgrounds in South Korea and Indonesia. Regarding research, she is interested in working in multilingualism, heritage, language development, the philosophy of the language learning, positive psychology, interventions, and action research. She has been volunteering in teacher training and professional development networks with the clear purpose of supporting learners by supporting teachers. So, dear audience, now we will give the floor to our honored speaker. So please, dear Eunae Kim, the floor is yours. And dear audience, please, if you have any questions, you can write your questions in our chat box. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Good evening, everyone. I'm joining from Washington, D.C. at 8 a.m. now. Perfect time to run a workshop. Thank you again for inviting me. I'm honored to be here. So last time when I joined you, I was a teacher. Now I'm a PhD student, so it has been a big transition. My name is Eunae. It's kind of hard to pronounce, right? Eunae Kim. It's like Renee, but take the R off. So it's Eunae. Okay. Does everyone remember the talk I shared last time? What was it? The role of the teacher-student relationship in promoting students' engagement, right? Today, I will share the teacher's role in using tasks in EFL classroom. So I chose this topic because I'm approaching it as a peer teacher. I'm coming as a teacher. At the university, I am exploring different kinds of methods and approaches, but since I'm a teacher, I always wrestle, like, is it a good approach that I can use? Is it a good method for the teachers? So I really want this time to discuss it together and brainstorm ideas. So I don't have all the answers, but let's try I really hope that everyone can get something out of this session. Okay, let me share my screen. Here are the goals for today. First, we'll start discussing the idea of what tasks are. All of us may have different ideas of using tasks due to the various contexts we're teaching in. Also, we'll discuss the teacher's role in using tasks. in the classroom. Even though we know something is good, right? So we'll discuss some advantages of using tasks in the classroom, but even though we know something is good, it can be challenging to implement something new in our classroom. So I hope you can see yourself implementing tasks in your classroom after this session. Okay, so I have this question. Before moving on to a more specific topic of task, I would like to ask this question. Where do you teach? Please share your context of teaching. I'm asking this question because you might feel restricted or more challenged using tasks, depending on your context. So I think a link is shared on the chat. So you can use the link to answer, or you can just use this QR code. Let me try to. Okay. All right, primary school, you mean like public, private, primary school, right? Okay, public or private. Primary school, most of you teach at primary school and private institute for adults. Okay, secondary school. Some of you are tutoring and some of you are teaching at a university. This is very good because using task, it's very important to understand your context and understand what other things you can do, you cannot do, right? Okay. Okay. I have one more question. What do you think is a task? What is a task according to your definition, own definition? What is a task? You can submit several answers. That's totally fine. What is a task? You can just text. It can be a word or phrase or a sentence. Okay, somebody thinks that it's a homework, okay? Exercises, very good. Okay, it can be a passage for review. Good. Yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit of time so you can, something you can learn, something you can ask your students to do to practice what they learned, okay? So most of you think it's something that you do after learning. Learn by heart, okay, that's good. It can be your objective, yes. A project can be, okay, very good. It can be a project. I'll type it for you. And it involves students, okay? These are all very good answers. Thank you. Learning can be your objectives, okay? So something that you can do after, or something, it can be, task itself can be your objective. Very good. Checking homework. Okay. Very good. All right, you can, let's move on to the next slide. I think it's important to define what a task is so that we can be all in the same page, right? I want to use this definition of task by Ellison Sintani. This definition of task is in TBLT, task-based language teaching. I think you had a workshop on TBLT months ago. So task-based language teaching has been regarded as one of the most effective methods of learning a second or foreign language. And it has been a significant topic for both researchers and language teachers. Task-based teaching emphasizes real-world language use, promoting meaningful communication and authentic language learning experiences. So there are 4 components of defining tasks. First, it needs to be focused on meaning. What does it mean? Instead of directly starting with grammar rules or forms, maybe some of you are using PPP method. It's like present, practice, and perform, right? So that's more like teacher control. Task provides students with a meaningful conversation. So focus on meaning. And students will naturally focus on producing the second language, often inaccurately. Yeah, according to Willis. And students will negotiate for meaning. Is this correct? Is this right? And asking for clarification because of the second component. It needs to have a gap, some kind of a gap. Because of the gap, students will like ask questions. Oh, is this correct or not? And according to Prabhu, there are 3 kinds of gaps: information gaps, reasoning gaps, and opinion gaps. So information gaps, what do you think they are? Students have different information. So they look at different text or different images or different objects. So spot the difference game can be a good example, right? So each student has a different picture with different spots. So they must communicate to figure out the different spots, right? So because there is this gap, they need to interact. Reasoning gaps are something students need to figure out what to do to reach a goal in the future. So it's more like there's a gap in present and future. So you need to do something, right? So it calls for your actions. Planning a road trip can be a good example. So as a group, you're supposed to plan a road trip. You need to think about what are the things you need to do to reach like that point, right? Maybe you need to think about what route that you can take. You need to think about how many stops you will make, right? And also you can think about where to stay, okay? The third gap is opinion gaps. So you can guess what they are. There's a gap in students' opinions. They often need to agree or disagree, right? Or you need to provide your reasoning. Maybe you can discuss your favorite candy and why, Or do you agree or disagree of like students having their cell phones in the classroom? Something like that, right? Third, learners depend on their own linguistic and non-linguistic resources. What does that mean? Instead of repeating some phrases or sentences students learned from their teachers, they will use what they know already to communicate what they want. That means students might want to use their L1 because if they don't have enough L2 to like first language, if they don't have enough second language to process everything. Fourth, there should be a clearly defined communicative non-linguistic outcome. I was a bit confused with this one because when you say non-linguistic outcome, what can be the outcome of a task? I don't know, like for example, like taking a quiz on a vocabulary or a grammar concept will not be a good task outcome, but finding a place using a map will be a good task outcome. Non-linguistic. So if the students are not supposed to focus so much on figuring out rules or vocabulary in this kind of approach. So they will, for example, have they will have a task, and while doing a task, they will learn some concepts or vocabulary naturally. That's the idea. Do you like it? So there are different task types. The first, maybe you can think about the task types according to the different gaps I mentioned, right? So those different gaps can be different task types. Or there are different task types like listening. So listening, you listen to something, and a list, maybe you can create a list or you can draw something, can be a good listening task. Ordering and sorting, tests that involve sequencing, ranking, categorizing, or classifying items. Comparing, tasks that, so this is more like an information gap, like you don't know something, so you need to ask your friends to figure out, right? Comparing the differences or similarities in information. Problem solving, you have some issue, you need to solve it, right? So some kind of intellectual activity, as in puzzles or logical issues. Sharing personal experiences. So you can like let learners to actually share their own experiences and give them some time to freely express their experiences. Creative tasks can be like a project. Somebody mentioned that, a project, right? And often involving several stages that can incorporate various types of tasks above and can include the need to carry out some research. Yeah, so let's try a simple task. Okay, so my daughter drew this beautiful snowman. Oh, it's not a beautiful snowman yet. Accidentally, I spilled milk all over it. I'm sure she's very upset with me now. Can you please help me redraw this picture? You can try. If you have a pen and paper, you can try. So listen to me carefully and redraw this for me so I can show this to my daughter. Okay, so draw a bubble on top of the snowman's hat. Draw a bubble, okay? And draw a striped scarf around the snowman's neck with 4 tassels at the end. I know some of you are really trying. That's good. Doesn't have to be perfect. You need a little bubble on top of the snowman's hat and draw a striped scarf around the snowman's neck with 4 tassels at the end. On the top circle, you can see here, there are 3 circles, right? On the top circle, draw 2 coal eyes, a carrot nose, and a smile on the snowman's face. Okay, on the top circle, draw 2 coal eyes, a carrot nose, and a smile on the snowman's face. Draw 6 different sized snowflakes falling from the sky. 6 different sized snowflakes falling from the sky. And you can draw a pile of 3 snowballs either side of the snowman. Pile of 3 snowballs either side of the snowman. On the middle circle, draw a heart-shaped and a square-shaped button on the middle circle. On the bottom circle, draw a star-shaped and triangular-shaped button. Somebody's doing it really hard, so I cannot just skip everything. Okay, next. All right, so draw 2 twig arms, one shorter than the other. So draw 2 twig arms, one shorter than the other. Last one. I know my daughter was very detailed, right? On last one, on the longer twig arm, draw a bird. Draw a bird. Can you share? Any of you share your drawing? Yeah, look at that. Thank you, Zero. Yeah, Laura, very good. Okay, do you think this is a task? This is a task? Yes, in what way? Let's think about it. Oops. We need to focus on meaning, right? So I didn't give you any type of vocabulary words to focus or grammar rules, right? So we were trying so hard to focus on meaning, right? Some kind of gap. You didn't know what I would say, right? So there was a gap, information gap, right? And then you had to depend on your own linguistic and non-linguistic resources to figure out what is a triangle, what is a star shaped, right? What is a middle circle, right? And there was a clearly defined communicative outcome. What was that? To draw a snowman for my daughter. So you are all my helpers. Amazing. So I want to actually introduce a really good resource. Here's the link. Actually, you can Google test bank. And I don't know if it's Zero, you can find the link for me. Test bank by Indiana University. This is really good. You can go there and actually find different types of tasks. And you can also upload tasks too. So they actually, before uploading it, they will check if your task is a good task or not. So all the tasks there are pretty well designed. Okay. So if you want to be familiar with designing a task, if you're not sure what is it like, I really highly recommend you to visit the website and browse various tasks so that you can feel more familiar. I think there's some Russian tasks too, if you speak Russian. So I'm showing you the main task part, but they play a bingo game as a pre-task activity. So you can think of it as a very simple, it's not really simple idea, but I think it's a simple term, like pre-task, task, and post-task. Pre-task is the time that you introduce the task, or maybe you can, as a weak version, you can maybe some warm up of vocabulary, or you can kind of introduce some game. It's like a warm up activity. And then task, you can do the task, and then post task, you can spend time some like for reflection and evaluation. Okay, pre-task is more like a warm-up task, and post-task is more like reflection and evaluation. Not too hard, right? So this is main task. Okay, so let me read the directions to you. Directions for you. Welcome to the residential program. Please review the 6 profiles below and select the individual who you believe would make the best roommate for you during your program session. Then write an email to the residential director explaining your choice. Be sure to incorporate lots of detail to make sure your email is convincing. The residential director will decide about roommate pairings after reading all the emails from this year's participating class. If you do not think anybody below would be a good match for you, please describe your ideal roommate for the residential director. And then it shows these types of profiles. Well, let me share this link of Google Docs. If you can open it, you will see a whole description of how to use this task. It's actually developed by my friend, my classmate. It's amazing, very detailed. But do you think is a task? Do you think it's a good task? I really like it because that you are supposed to do something that you would do in a real life, right? Not something not really connected to anything. So for example, I think this task is part of a bigger unit, like a study abroad. So if you go, for example, go to the US, you will have a situation, something like this, very similar, right? So it's very connected to real world, and also it has a clear outcome. What is that? If you write an email, the residential director will decide about roommate pairings after reading all the emails. So your email is actually very important, right? Sometimes we create activities, write an email and done. There's no outcome, right? I think it's important to remember that something will happen if you write. So if you really write a bad email, or like kind of not a nice email, you might not get the roommate you want, right? So there's a clear outcome. Yes. So I have a question. Imagine that you are using this task in your classroom or something similar, right? What do you think is your role as a teacher using a task like this in language classroom? Okay, so just brainstorm your ideas. It can be anything. What can be your role as a teacher using this type of task in your classroom? You can, if it's hard, you can just type on the chat. I'll do it for you. I'll type it for you. Okay, facilitator. That's very good. Yes, you're facilitating. Okay, what does that mean? Maybe we can just discuss that a little bit more. To check their task, okay? To check their task, like it's more like you're kind of making sure that everything's going well. Delegating the task, okay? To observe. Observe is very important. Yeah, you observe. Assisting, okay? You are helping the students to actually to reach the goal of the communication. Very good. Providing students with the tools necessary to communicate. That's very, very, very good. Okay. Yeah. Monitoring. Assisting. Offering skills and strategies. Very good. Check their task. Creating an inclusive learning environment. That's very important. Amazing. Yes. To control what's happening. Yes. Support and advice. This is very good. Assessing. That's amazing. Important part too. After the task, did they actually learn what you wanted them to learn or not? Right? Encourage them. Okay. Teach using the language in different situations. Assisting them. Instructing. Okay. Very good. Actually, teacher should be pretty busy, right? If you want to use a task, right? You need to really think about what's going to happen. You need to kind of, you need to imagine what's going to happen for that day. You need to know exactly what process it should happen. You need to support them. You need to group them. It's a lot of work. Yes. Whoa, look at this. Many of you, this is beautiful. I love that. Tasks, use the word task a lot. Giving, skills, knowledge, learning, apply, provide, opportunities, right? I think these are very important words. Love it. Okay. The quality of an education system cannot exceed the quality of its teachers. So Van den Vrinden quoted this sentence from McKinsey and Company. The quality of an education system cannot exceed the quality of its teachers. What do you think about this quote? Do you agree, disagree? You like it or not? Maybe you can share your thoughts on the chat. While you're doing that, we can continue. I think we kind of discussed it with the word work. Why is the role of the teacher so crucial in using tasks, right? I put the initiator on top because teachers need to feel and see the need to use tasks. Teacher agency is essential. Jackson discussed in his book, moving beyond their potential role as designers, teachers are active agents when they use tasks. So he also discussed one of his studies as an example of the benefits of using tasks for pre-service teachers. So in this study, 16 teachers engaged in a series of math tasks as a teacher's role with partners with students' roles. Those teachers could notice verbal and non-verbal resources helpful for task performance. Also, with the simulated recall methodology, they could see what they did was successful. They were encouraged to act, think, and speak as teachers do. So teachers actually need to see the benefits because as you could see, it's a lot of work. It can be, right? As Brendan discusses, most teachers tend to implement TBLT in ways they see. If they don't see the vision of using tasks in their own classrooms, in their own setting, they will not bother implementing them in their classroom. True, right? We're busy. I hope after this session, you can feel that using tasks is something doable in your classroom in a way that you feel comfortable. As a person who understands students' context, teachers need to design a task that is interesting for the learners and cognitively engaging. So Braifansky quoted, "Teachers are known to modify lesson plans moment to moment while teaching, making constant pedagogical decisions to adapt to classroom and learners' need." So also, she argues that teachers need to be sensitive to students' individual differences while providing corrective feedback, input, and forms they provide. So you are a facilitator using tasks. So you need to design a task, find ways to facilitate effectively, and you need to provide feedback. And also you are a language partner, right? Language teachers are also competent language partner. Brendan suggests that teachers should introduce tasks that are interesting, valuable, and relevant on the one hand, and which they find challenging yet doable. Originally, I wanted to share about willingness to communicate today. I hope I can share that next time. I could witness that my students' willingness to communicate dramatically changed when I gave them choices. When they could choose a topic that they were passionate about, they were more engaged. So teachers should understand students' need and context to modify the task accordingly. You need to motivate students so that they can actively participate in their own learning. Okay, so what are some benefits of using tasks in the classroom? Unlike in a one-way traditional classroom, group and pair work provides students with extensive opportunities to practice and use their communicative skills. They have more time to use their language, right? Tasks are especially beneficial for students' speaking skills. Output is encouraged. You need to speak due to gaps, right? Feedback is essential. Students can get various feedback through recast. Oh, so if I said something wrong, so teachers will correct me. So if I said something wrong, and then teachers naturally, oh, do you mean this? Like that. That's called the recast. And negotiation for meaning, like you're trying to find the right expression, right words, right? And you can also request for clarification. Does that mean this or that? Does that mean this or that? Because you can use the target language more, it will impact your self-confidence. It can be more fun, right? Like the task we saw. Every task has a clear goal. After finishing a task, you can feel rewarded. Oh, I did this, right? Also, not just language learning, learners can have the opportunity to develop self-regulation skills, problem-solving skills, intercultural competence, and social skills. These are all skills you need to communicate better and effectively, right? Even in our first language, right? We understand that using tasks is excellent, but is it doable in your context? What are some of your concerns? It may clash with foreign-focused test context where we need to prepare students for a specific standardized test, TOEFL, for example. I saw some of you actually teach at a private institute for adults, right? Maybe there's a pressure of you need to, like, I don't know, teach them certain vocabulary or grammar rules. Some teachers don't believe in ignoring errors in students' output. It needs more Also, it needs to be more learner initiative. It may decrease the level of teachers' control. So every teacher has a different comfort level, right? Due to peer interaction, classrooms will be noisy. And some students might want to use more their first language. Are you comfortable with noisy classrooms or not? Yeah. I initially asked about your teaching context because it can be challenging in large classrooms. It is still doable, but challenging. I don't know much about Tajik culture, but in Korea, we have a strong, I'm the teacher, you're the student type of mentality. Teachers are supposed to teach and students are supposed to learn. With this strong sense of fixed roles of teachers and students, it might be hard to encourage students' autonomy in the beginning. So maybe they might not do anything. Any possible solutions? It is important teacher's role as part of reflective teaching, right? JAG defines reflective teaching and teacher reflection as that teachers independently problematize or question their teaching. Vanden Branden suggested this role for teachers as researchers. Teachers need to gather, analyze, reflect, share, and engage in asking these questions. Does this approach work for both teachers and students in the actual classroom? Does it enhance the language learning of the students involved? Does TBLT or using tasks make a difference for people in real life? Is this something doable? So what? What are your key takeaways from this session? Let me share this Padlet link with you all. Okay. Okay, let me share this. Here's a link. What are your key takeaways from this session? I maybe gave you lots of information and lots of questions. But here are some questions. You can, if it's hard to use the Padlet, you can just type them on the chat, no problem. So let me share, so I'm sure we are at a very different level of implementing tasks in our classrooms. Some of you feel very comfortable using tasks in your classroom and probably have rich experiences. Some of you feel this whole idea is new and still unsure where to start. Some of you feel that your curriculum is so strict. You don't feel there's any room for growth. I understand because, to be honest, I'm like you. As a teacher, I don't believe in one methodology, but I believe that as a teacher, I should do everything to support my students to grow in their language learning journey. If using tasks promotes students' output and meaningful engagement in class, I will spend some time evaluating my own class. Am I giving enough opportunity for my students to express what they want to say? Am I providing tasks that are relevant to my students' context? And spend some time reflecting on your curriculum and textbook resources. Think about ways to modify your activities to be more like tasks. So I'm sure some of you already use a textbook, right? So you can just kind of go over different activities and think about the 4 components of a task, right? Can I make this more like a task or not, right? So maybe taking a baby step, evaluating your activities that are already there, and then try to modify it. Let me just open this link. Maybe some of your, yes, you're already answering. Very good. Yeah, you don't have to answer all of these, but I want you to spend some time, reflect on what are the things you learned, and what are the what are the things you want to try. Task Bank is a good resource, and maybe like you can start watching some like YouTube videos too, like Rod Ellis. I think if I can share the link. Rod Ellis had a good introduction of TBLT on YouTube. So there are some good videos that you can watch. I think Cambridge University Press ELT had a series of TBLT videos on YouTube. That's great. And do you have any questions while you're writing?
Yes, dear Eunae, Kim, there are some questions written in the chat.
Okay.
So from Facebook and from the audience who are joined via the Facebook. So the question is, how do you prepare your learners for doing the tasks that provide them with the necessary language support?
I think it's important that like you can think about, I think some of you already mentioned that like you want to use task as a, like you learn something first and then you kind of use it. That's totally fine too, I think. It doesn't have to be every classroom is a task based, I think, as a teacher, to be honest. I mean, it will be good. But like, for example, if there's a topic or unit that you teach, maybe let's say about snowmen and squares and colors, right? So you kind of discuss that with the students already, and then using a task that I showed you about the snowman as a, it can be actually as an evaluation too. Like, do they really understand the content that we learn? I think more with Asian students, I feel like preparing them to interact, that can be challenging because some students don't really want to speak up. So I think maybe next, my next session with you can be about willingness to communicate, making them feel comfortable in class so that they start talking. I think that can be very important in task, using tasks in class.
Great. And the second question is, how do you monitor and facilitate your learners' interaction during the tasks?
That's a good question. So I think most interactions happen in pairs or in groups, right? So as a facilitator, I want you to kind of walk around in the classroom and just kind of visit each group or pair and see what they're doing. Maybe if you, maybe like there's a one pair or group just using the first language instead of using the target language, you can kind of stay there, be with them a little bit, and kind of guide them to use the target language a little bit. So your role as a facilitator, like you can be in and out of different groups and pairs and be in and out of their discussions, and kind of monitor, I think.
Great. And the next question is, how do you evaluate the effectiveness and impact of TBL on your learners' language development and motivation?
What do you think? How do you evaluate that? I think you can really, as a teacher, it's kind of hard to measure their engagement. But I feel like as a teacher, when I try something And also, even before you using tasks, I try to imagine, do you think that I will like this or not? Right? For example, somebody asked about the writing task. I had a task. I asked my students to write a biography of a list. I provided them a list of people I chose, and I asked them to write a biography of one of the people, and then they kind of didn't want to do it. And so, okay, and I asked them, okay, what do you want? And then they say, oh, I want to choose my person, like this is my K-pop idol that I want to write about. Okay, this is like the baseball player that I want to write about. So I think involving students from the beginning of designing your task will be more successful, I feel like, because you're involving them. Okay, what do you want to learn about? Instead of you are the one who's providing everything, designing. I think that will be, and also you can gauge their engagement if they're excited about the task or not by their output. They will produce a lot more speaking or writing if they're excited about it. If not, they might look very passive. Oh, this is boring. Why do I have to do this? Or what, right? Yeah.
Thank you. And the next question is, what are some challenges that teachers may face in using tasks in the EFL classroom, and how can they be overcome?
I think one thing I kind of wanted to mention was that how comfortable you are in using English. I think maybe that's one thing. If you feel more comfortable, because like the reason a lot of teachers don't want to use tasks because they want to control the classroom, because they don't feel comfortable using English spontaneously. So I think one thing that I feel like you need to feel comfortable using English first. And also maybe I would encourage you to be more comfortable with noise levels in your classroom. I think it's okay to be noisy. And it's natural. You're giving your students to speak up. So don't be afraid of a classroom being chaotic, I think. Does that really answer?
Yeah, yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. And dear audience, if you have any more questions, you're welcome. You can unmute yourself, or you can write straight away here in the chat box. Please use the chance.
So I have a question.
Yes, please.
First of all, I want to thank you for this question or for this session. And my question is, so we know that when we use this kind of assignment, this kind of tasks, students will make a lot of noise, as you said before. So now my question is, so what or how do you get rid of this of the noise in these cases or in this situation personally? How do you?
How do I get rid of noise?
Yes.
I encourage noise. So I think it's important that, like, for example, what I do, I try to incorporate something like every 15 minutes. Like, for example, like try to change of a subject or a topic every 15 minutes. Because like I feel like they get bored too. So for example, okay, this time I'll give you, maybe you can give some time. You can be loud and noisy for 5 minutes. Okay, everyone. And then maybe you can set an alarm. And after an alarm, everyone, let's go back, focus. Okay. So instead of just, whoa, you can be loud the whole time, you can just give them some structure so they can expect, okay, next 5 minutes, I can interact with my friends without worrying about being noisy. but after 5 minutes, okay, I'll, focus. Something like that can be helpful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. When I was working at an international school, my classroom was next to the head of school's office. So there was a pressure. If my kids get too loud, will he upset? So like I had this kind of little bit of pressure, but then my head of school one time he passed and he said, I don't know what you do, but those students are very loud in your classroom, but they're very quiet in other classrooms. So what do you do? So I think I actually learned that it's very important to giving them some time. Yeah, maybe I'm not giving enough time to them to use the language that I'm teaching. They have to use it, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, that's definitely right. And we have one more question here from Natia. She asks, how do you involve those students who don't want to interact? And are they refusing to do anything?
I think that was really hard for me too. I had this one student who didn't want to do anything, who didn't want to, I don't know, be involved in anything, any kind of discussion. If I ask her a question, they're like, yes, no, done, right? So I think first, don't take it personally. It's not your failure that the student is not interacting. I think that's something that I learned. I don't have to like take it personally. Second, maybe if you need to maybe have some kind of office hour before or after class, just to have some interaction with the person, with the student, so that the student maybe starts to feel comfortable with you first. And then you can also think about in terms of grouping, you can think about, okay, this person seems like pretty comfortable with this student. Okay, let's group them first together so that they can at least feel comfortable interacting. I think you need to really think about what other things that are impacting this student not willing to communicate. Oh, next topic again. So yeah, and then not just to like, oh, you need to interact, you need to speak up. Oh, maybe that person is not willing to speak because of that. But we need to think about, okay, maybe that student is stressed at home. Maybe something's happening. Maybe the cat died the day before or something like that. So you need to really figure out what's happening. Everything around that person, but don't take it personal. It's not something that you did wrong. I think that was really helpful for me.
Yeah, great. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thanks a lot for your amazing webinar. And if you have one more, the last questions, please.
Yeah, sure.
Jess, because the time is also up. If you have one more question, you are welcome, please.
I have a question.
Okay, yes, please.
I think that this is my last question.
Great.
So,
yes.
As you know, English language is spreading in our country nowadays, and everyone maybe starts to learn the language more and more. But there are still students who have a lower level of language than other students. So, in such cases, I usually give them easier tasks. So, do you think that I'm doing right thing or not in such cases?
Yes, I think
Yes?
you're doing it absolutely right. I think it's important that students need to feel comfortable completing the task, yet challenging, right? So you need to start building the difficult level from the beginning, right? So I also taught students who had no English coming from Korea. I just used English with body language and and pictures, right? So that's totally fine, I think.
So thank you. I get it.
Thank
I
you.
got it. Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you so much, dear Eunae Kim, for your amazing
Thank you.
webinar. And thank you, dear audience, for your active participation.
Mm.
And that was amazing. Yes, thanks a lot. And we are looking forward for more webinar, dear Eunae Kim.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you. Thank you for your time, for everything.
Have a good evening.
Have a good
I'm gonna
day.
have a good day.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.